Sandy City is a drug-free workplace. In order to help keep the workplace safe, it is the duty of supervisors to send employees for drug testing. You can find more information on the city's drug and alcohol screening policy in the Operations Manual and in the Employee Handbook, but this section will go over some instances when an employee may be required to take a drug test. All new hires are required to take a drug test as a condition of employment. Human Resources will typically send benefited employees to the city's Scope Clinic and non-benefited employees to Intermountain WorkMed. New hires may not begin working until Human Resources notifies the supervisor that the drug test is negative. Some current employees who are promoted or transferred to a new position need to be drug tested. If an employee is being transferred to a different department, or if the new position will be in a higher pay band, they will need to take a drug test. However, if an employee is being transferred to a different position within the same department, and if the position is in the same or a lower pay band, the employee is not required to take a drug test. Each month, the city conducts random alcohol and drug testing of employees in certain positions. These include safety-sensitive positions and positions that will require a CDL. If an employee is selected for random drug testing, Human Resources will notify the employee's department head in advance that they should send the employee for testing as soon as the employee reports to work on the appointed testing day, or when the employee will be working. A supervisor must not notify the employee about the drug testing until the employee reports to work. If an employee who has been selected for random drug testing will be off work for an extended period of time, notify Human Resources so that an alternate employee can be chosen. A supervisor may determine that there is reasonable suspicion for testing an employee under certain circumstances. This could be after an injury or accident, or based on a supervisor's observation or information from a credible source. Some examples of circumstances that may justify reasonable suspicion include, but are not limited to, a pattern of abnormal behavior or erratic behavior, direct observation of drug or alcohol use, or the presence of physical symptoms of drug or alcohol use, such as glassy or bloodshot eyes, alcohol odor on breath, slurred speech, or poor coordination. Remember that reasonable suspicion does not mean that you have proof, only suspicion based on observations. Appendix 33 in the Supervisor Guidebook contains information on how to determine reasonable suspicion. These are the steps in the reasonable suspicion drug testing process. 1. Identify a problem and observe the employee. 2. Document your findings. Do this as soon as possible and try to show multiple reasons for testing unless there is something that is very obvious. 3. Confirm your findings with another supervisor if possible. Agreement from another supervisor to send an employee for reasonable suspicion drug testing will help support your case if the employee challenges you. 4. Discuss your findings with the employee. It is best to have another supervisor present when you meet with the employee. Start by asking why the employee appeared abnormal. Act immediately if the employee's behavior might be due to a medical emergency. Inform the employee of the city's drug and alcohol testing policy and tell them that the policy requires that you act when you have reasonable suspicion of drug or alcohol use. Also inform the employee of the consequences of a positive test or a refusal to take the test. 5. Conduct the drug test. Do not allow employees to drive themselves to the testing facility or home. 6. Obtain the results of the drug test. The employee should not return to work until the results have been obtained. If the results are negative, you may need to address the employee's problems in terms of performance issues. We will go over later in the video what to do if the results are positive. Lastly, number 7, keep everything confidential. Some employees may be taking legal, over-the-counter, or prescription drugs that could still impair their ability to function safely in the workplace. Employees are responsible for notifying a supervisor of any substance that they are taking that could cause impairment. In such cases, supervisors have the responsibility to prevent employees from performing duties that could result in accident or injury due to impairment. City policy requires drug testing after an accident that occurs while a vehicle is in motion or equipment is in operation. Some departments may have stricter policies, so make sure that you are also familiar with your department's policy. If an employee is injured and taken to a medical facility, drug testing can be conducted at that facility. If the employee is not injured, they need to report to Intermountain WorkMed for testing, or remain on site until a collector arrives after hours. The department head will determine if there is reasonable suspicion that the accident was due to employee impairment, in which case the employee should not be allowed to return to their duties until the results of the drug test are received. If an applicant tests positive for drug use, the supervisor should explain to them that they will not be hired as a result of their drug test. The supervisor may also tell the applicant that they are welcome to apply for future jobs with the city, but can expect to be tested again if selected. If the current employee tests positive for drug or alcohol use, the supervisor should immediately consult with the department head and human resources to determine the course of action. Know that it has always been the city's policy to terminate after a positive drug test, but be sure to consult with human resources before taking any action. Remember that drug and alcohol test results are confidential and should not be discussed with anyone who does not have a need to know.